I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting. We're still missing two people. Deborah's caught in traffic and on her way, and I'm not sure where Paul Heavenridge is. We have Andy on the phone right now. Stephen's supposed to be calling in as well. So we're going to have two call-ins, and Jason is not able to make it tonight. Anyway, okay, so we're calling it to order. Looks like 6:03 or something like that. Are there any announcements that somebody would like to make? Okay, no announcements. Presentations. We have a presentations on the new E Street studio. It's going to be given by Bridget Hayes. Hi, Bridget.
Hi, I'm Bridget Hayes, the Digital Literacy Specialist, and I'd like to present to you E Street Studios. This is our new audio and visual equipment and education program at the library. Cable providers, when they are operating in a city, they provide PEG funds, which are public educational and government funds. And the city of Santa Rosa and other cities, you can use these funds for equipment, education, as well as cable access channels like this meeting is being broadcast on right now. So the city of Santa Rosa and the Sonoma County Library are partnering to provide these services to patrons and the community. So that's my slide. There we go. So as you can see from our wonderful graphics, we reserve sound studio. We can borrow video equipment and take classes. We'll start with the video camera library. So we have 4 different camera kits, which include accessories as well as other microphones and lighting equipment. Patrons can check out cameras and equipment for up to 7 days with the Sonoma County Library card and have to be 18 years or older to do so. We have a camera catalog on our website right now, which we will open in just a second here. Yes, please. No problem. So with the website, you can see all of the equipment that we have available, as well as access the manuals and the individual components to each camera kit. And of the main camera kits are the Canon DSLR that you see up there, as well as a camcorder. We also have an iPad camera kit and a GoPro kit. Meanwhile, one of the wonderful parts of the actual camera catalog on the website is that there's a picture of each individual item, and you can click on the item, it will flip over and tell you all of the parts that are in each kit. So I believe Jane handed you out one of these bookmarks, and towards the bottom you can see the website sonomalibrary.org/camera-catalog, and there it is. So you can access that on your own, and then Vicki will demonstrate the click. And our wonderful web designer, Edie, worked on this. We're so excited about it. So there's some examples of kits and as well as accessories, and it's all on one page. You don't have to leave the page. Yeah. Sure. All right, I'll go back. So we have some drop-ins for orientation as well as our check-in and check-out. So right now, if you wanted to check out any of the camera equipment, you would need to attend an orientation, and those are every Monday from 10 to 11 at Central Library. And then on Wednesdays, you can check things out, and you would return it the following Wednesday during that time. But we offer some flexibility by appointment, so if those times don't work for you, if we have room, and if schedules are available and room schedules are available, we're flexible with check-in and check-out times. The other component to the program is the sound studio. This will be launching in the spring. You can reserve the studio for up to 2 hours. You have to, again, have a Sonoma County Library card, be 18 years or older, and you can create any type of recording, such as those listed podcasts. You can do karaoke if you'd like. You can record your first album or your second. And we have, it's a professional mini studio. It's a 12 by 12 studio that has very sound dampening walls, and it's just a great space with really nice equipment. We also have a conversion machine, let's call it, to convert analog to digital. So if you had something like a cassette or a CD, you could convert it to an SD card or a USB drive. In the future, we're looking at a few other items, possibly a conversion of other things like VHS to DVD, our public access channel, some of the content that patrons are making, we would like to put up on our public access channel, which we currently have access to and are working on putting together scheduling and the details of the content. Perhaps an additional studio, and that could either be separate or together from green screen and other filming type activities. And then maybe expanding on the library to include not only camera equipment, but also audio equipment and amps and additional microphones for sound and performance. So you'll see that there's a picture of the current studio on the top and the mock-up on the right of the 12 by 12 that we started with, so things have already come a long way. We've had, with the camera library, we've had already 16 orientations that have taken place, and we're excited to get the sound studio launched in the spring. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Should I call him? Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. That's so interesting. I think it was about 2 years ago that a gentleman came down from the city of Santa Rosa and talked about this possibility because they didn't want to run the city's channel anymore, and they wanted us to take over the equipment. I'm not probably saying this exactly correctly, but one of my questions is when you talk about having a public access channel, is that the city of Santa Rosa's public access channel, or do we have one?
So there are multiple channels. There's one for the city of Santa Rosa, and then there will be one that will be assigned, that is currently assigned to the library. That is not live at the moment.
Okay. And then I had talked to Vicki about this. I've been trying to work on an oral history project for a long time. We have, through the Friends of the Library, been working with Listening for a Change, and they were very helpful. We've got a couple of them done, but they aren't able to help us again until next summer. So a suggestion was maybe we could, through East Street Studios, work on this. But just to clarify for everybody, we don't have any staff that can help actually work on videos or any of this kind of stuff. This is, you come in and you learn how to do it yourself, and then you do it all yourself.
Right. There are classes to get you oriented with the equipment and specific classes on editing or different pieces and components, but there's nothing quite like what you're...
Not having any staff to really help.
Right.
So we're going to conduct classes in editing?
We already have, actually, yes. We have started with, we did a digital video camp, spring break camp for kids. We've done a digital video class for seniors as well as adults, so yeah, adults. Wow. And we start with the iPad kit, and we work with some very basic videoing of filming, and then iMovie, so some basic editing on that in a short period of time.
So has this been on Facebook, the classes?
There have been on Facebook. There's some, actually on the catalog, we have one of the videos that one of the kids did during the spring break camp. You can see it there. And then on our YouTube channel, we have the videos posted that participants have been interested in posting, sharing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Well, thank you, Bridget, very much.
You're welcome. Come by
This is exciting. My
check out a
grandson
camera.
is into this, and he is just stoked. So,
Thanks.
thank you. Okay, and our next presentation are by Anderson Brule Architects for Roseland Library. And since I recognize the other two, you must be Nate Bisbee.
I'm Nick Steele. I'm with Anderson Brule.
Okay, Nick Steele then. All right. Welcome.
Control L. Thank you for inviting me to present the process and where we're at currently with the Roseland Library TI remodel project. We began...
Excuse me, could you speak
Sure.
closer to the microphone?
Sure. So we began this project about a month and a half ago. And to begin with, we were provided a plan that was to serve as a basis of design that set the program. So in this presentation, we started with that as the target program. So the net square footage that you would see on the program document, the target was set at 342 square feet. The space itself, the building, is 4,295, which gives us a grossing factor of 26%. With the proposed plan that I'll show you in just a moment, the usable net square feet is just over 3,000 at 3,002 square feet. So the grossing percentage with the current plan is at 43%. And the reason for that is in the number differences between the two. We removed the circulation that was originally put in the plan in the areas for adults, children, and teens, and actually calculated what the true circulation would be. We're happy to show that this plan gets us to the required number or goal number of titles, books on shelves. We're targeting between anywhere from 5,628 to 9,240. And that is in line with what the goals are for the project. As I go through the presentation, if you have any questions, I can come back to speak more specifics to the program. But I think the heart of the presentation is looking at the plan and some of the other elements in the presentation. To orient you in the plan, the main entry, the doors that are shown at the top of the plan, those are leading you to the parking lot, and Sebastopol Road is to the right, plan right. So the parking lot behind the building would be plan left. So if we come in the main entry, immediately to the right is where we're proposing to have the staff work area that would be behind a wall. There would also be a book drop inside the library right when you enter, and the equipment itself would go into the staff space. So then the sorting can occur behind the door in the staff space. There would be 2 dedicated staff workstations. The intent for those is to be height adjustable, and then a small staff break area with a kitchenette and a place for them to sit next to the IT closet. Going back out to the main circulation when you come through the main entry, it's a little hard to see in this projection, but there's a a semicircle service point that would account for 2 librarians to be located at that place. And then there would be some carrels across from that, the 4 that are shown there. Those will be on wheels that can be moved around on casters. Behind that, those serve as a little bit of a barrier to the adult collection, the adult space. Within that, we have the copy print area, and we're currently showing 6 computer stations behind the copy print location. Planned south of the adult area, we have the children's area. One of the reasons, if you've seen any of the previous iterations of this plan, we moved the staff in the children's area so that way we could increase the size of the children's area, placed a small storage room within there, have a variety of different types of seating proposed, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then a small area that we're currently labeled as story time that can serve for a small group of probably about 10 children. The whole space, the furniture is intended to be movable, so it can, when you have a large program and you want to have story time for 30 plus children, you can rearrange all the furniture in that space to accommodate that. Directly center off the main entry at the back would be the teen space. There's 2 dedicated computer stations there, and a couple different types of seating with different shelving. One of the main changes to this building to make it code compliant is revising the restrooms. Currently, there's a single stall women's and a single stall men's restroom. With the increase in occupancy, serving as a library, it would require an additional stall in the women's and a urinal added to the men's. So to make that fit, we had to reconfigure the restrooms in the back of this building. And then we have the community room that is located such that after hours, you can enter through the second side exit, which opens to the, does this work? That opens to the parking lot in the back. And the community room uses a variety of tables that can be folded up and moved around. The chairs will be able to be stacked. So you can have many different functions and uses within this room. The intent is to have a overhead projector screen in this room, and then connections to that can be plugged into at the tables central in the room. The shelving around the perimeter is all 5 high. In the children's area, there's a few shelves along the wall that is adjacent to or dividing between Sebastopol Road. Those would be 3 high, intended for the picture books in the children's area. A big part of the way we like to start our projects is working with members of the community, users of the space, and the representatives of the library in defining how would they describe the library. If you were to tell your children or tell a community user what the new space is going to be like, we go through an exercise to actually select vocabulary terms that are emotional, that describe a feeling when you come into the space. And then that helps give us design direction. So going through that exercise, the outcome of that was a feeling that was joyous, a space that's going to make you feel young at heart, reinforce lifelong learning, and most importantly, a very inviting space. So those terms, we then find imagery that we think best represents those terms in your community. And we developed this collage to give us direction to set for color palettes, materiality, points of interest, and the direction of what the look and feel of the space that we're hoping for, without actually nailing and saying, this is an image of a library that it's exactly what you're going to get. This is a way that we start to have that dialogue. And we'd love to hear your feedback on this. Now, looking at what is this library, could this actually look like? What are the pieces that will be in this library? One of the big points to make this a highly functional space is, instead of just building normal stud and gyp walls, the walls around the community room as well as the staff area, we propose that they're a wall system. And it's a system that 5 years from now, 6 years, when the lease is up, you could take those walls with you. They'd be purchased like furniture, and so you would own them instead of them being staying there at the building. You have the choice to do that. But other reasons why we think this is a good solution is that you have a variety of aesthetics that you can choose from. So you can incorporate glass rather easily into these systems. You can have acoustic tackable panels in these systems. You can embed AV equipment into these systems, and they can be reconfigured if 2 or 3 years from now you want to move the door or add a door. It's simpler to do that with these components. You would order the pieces you would need if you don't have them already, instead of having to hire a general contractor to come out and demo it. And you should be able to manage that with your facilities team. So the images that we show are a system that is by All Steel. So we can see the top right image is one example of having acoustical panels most of the way up, and then having clear story windows at the top, which is an example of what we are projecting and seeing a good use at the community room and at the staff space. So you can have solid acoustic panel material, helps for acoustic reasons, and then also provides visual privacy and separation between. But because the exterior windows, the natural light coming in the space is limited, providing the clear story helps make the space feel more connected, open, and brings light throughout the library. Between the community room and the staff space, this larger image that has the acoustic panel in the background of it around this office, that is more of an example of what we would see between the staff space and the community room. And there's an elevation at the bottom of this page that shows where the service desk we're proposing would be located, and then what the wall behind it would be like. So immediately behind the service station, which is central in that elevation, you would have solid acoustic panels with glass above them. And then to the left of that would be the entrance to the community room that would have glass on either side of the entrance. So you can see in and out, see what's happening in the community room as you're coming in and out of the community room, but you provide some visual separation and privacy to those that are working at the service desk. And then to the right of that would be the entrance to the faculty and staff, the staff room with a book drop-off next to it. We've shown here an example of a piece of furniture that can be used as a service point that's height adjustable. So you can provide height adjustable workstation at the service point and still have, if you place a computer on top of it, it can still go up and down and have the connectivity, the cords can go through that. So we're looking at something like that at the service station to provide that adjustability for the staff, so they're not always either having to stand or always having to sit. They can choose between one or the other. Very ergonomic solution. The next slide on page 6 We see a variety of pieces of furniture that we're considering and currently proposing throughout the plan that we were looking at. So starting at the upper left, having a variety of these small stools that can be drug around. There's a handle on the back, and they can easily be relocated. They rock just a little bit. For a small child, a little fidgety, they want to move around, they can move around on the little stool without having to get up and actually move. Stacking chairs, especially in the community room, we think will be very helpful in providing that functionality. Tables that fold up and nest while maintaining a privacy screen that can drop for modesty panel. This central image shows two children sitting on this bench that can be reconfigured, and in the plan that we were showing, we think something like that can be used in the children's area, and it could be reconfigured into an S shape. It can be a curved condition. There's a lot of flexibility and reorientation that we can use with that. And then at the teens area, this bench seat with a panel behind it, we think to provide the feel of privacy for the teens area without actually having a private area. We can have benches with a short panel that comes maybe 4 feet off the ground. So when they're sitting at the table, they feel like they're a little more privacy. Someone's not looking at the back of their head. But anybody standing up in the space or from the service desk, they can keep an eye on and make sure nothing is happening that shouldn't be happening in the library. And then the last page gives an example. The upper left image shows that piece of furniture in more of a snake shape that we would look to use in the children's area. The lounge chair that we had shown on the previous slide is used throughout this, 3 of the images upholstered in different ways. It gives you a wide variety of ways you can upholster it, from a cleanability, you can have different textures, different colors. Example of what the staff space might look and feel like. And then the type of furnishings that we would look to put in the community room with the stackable chairs and the foldable tables. And then the central image at the bottom is what we were looking at, part of the teen space having a table with bench seating on either side of it, and potentially that screen that could go above it for a sense of privacy. But any questions? I know there's a lot of information here, and this is a project moving very quickly, and I want to make sure everybody has a chance.
Tom?
The book drop is an interior book drop. I know in Sonoma we have both interior and exterior, and I generally use the exterior, come around at odd times. Is it possible to make that happen with this, where right at the front main entrance there's a window or something right there that you could, I don't know, I'm just thinking.
So we looked at that and looked at a variety of ways we could include an exterior book drop. With this being a leased space and a shorter leased space, one of the things we wanted to avoid was additional penetrations to the exterior of the building. Putting it at that location would require changing the division between the staff space and the main entry. It would close it off a little bit. We looked at putting a book drop, kind of a standalone book drop, off of vehicle circulation. But the challenge with that is the parking lot and the circulation is very tight on this site, and there isn't any good location that you wouldn't obstruct vehicles from passing by in some other spot. We did consider the possibility of cutting a hole in the back of the building off the side. We are going to have to change the exterior circulation to meet ADA requirements. And since we'd be making that change, we thought maybe cost if cost would allow, we would look at putting a book drop off the back of the building near where the parking lot is. But our initial thought is, from a cost standpoint, that'll be challenging to keep it in budget, but worth considering as an alternate.
Okay, Barbara?
I hadn't noticed that about the book drop, but I would agree with Tom. I think, that's when people drop their books off, is after hours. I mean, so much of that happens. I think that's a really big issue, personally.
Okay.
Secondly, I was wondering, the kids' computers, are they the only those two AWEs, or are there other kids' computers?
So there's 2 AWEs, and then there's a table with 2 additional computers that would be a more typical computer.
Okay, so that's it, just 4?
Just 4, yeah.
That's not a lot. So the community room, the intent would be to be able to use this, but the community could use it after library hours, right?
That is the intent, yes.
And so if they came in that back door, that would be called the required second exit?
Yes.
And then, so the community room would be open, and then the restroom area would be open.
So they'd have access to the restroom area. In between the restroom vestibule and the teen space, we're proposing a sliding door that would go in the pocket behind the teens' computers. And so after hours, that door can be closed.
Okay.
And then provide the separation, so help control access.
Yeah, that was my
prevent
question.
access.
So that can be closed off, and then whoever has the keys is only worried about people being in the bathrooms in the community room, right?
Yes. The one thing that we are checking in right now is that in events of emergency, because the building requires 2 exits during normal business hours, we are checking with the city of Santa Rosa to see what their interpretation is going to be after hours for the community room. Would they require 2 exits still fully functional for the building, or can we limit that to just 1 exit? So even if this is closed, if the interpretation is that we need to maintain 2 exits, access to 2 exits out of the building, the entrance out of the community room into the library space, we'd have to look at that as an emergency exit during after-hours use.
Wow. It's not ideal.
Not ideal, but we're looking into that now.
2 questions. One is, by the way, I really love this plan.
Thank you.
Very exciting. Do you have a 3D or dollhouse view of the?
Not yet.
Okay. And the second one was, I'd like to get a better understanding of the power and charging options in the library for people who want to charge up their devices, plug in laptops.
So with this being a leased space, one of the goals is to minimize the power drops to the exterior walls, and there are a few columns within the space. So in the adults area where the copy, print, and computer stations are, there's one column adjacent to the copier and adjacent to the computer stations. In the children's area, there is also another column, and we'll actually end up needing to switch the location of where this computer table is to be adjacent to that column. So that way we're bringing the power and data to the computers down the column. Any additional points of electrical need would have to be around a perimeter. And that's currently limited because we're using a lot of that space for shelving. So in the teens area, we'll have the ability to have connections adjacent to where the teens would have a majority of their seating. The children area, we're assuming that's not going to be as big a concern, hopefully. And then the adults area, a lot of that will be limited to where the computer stations are.
And we do plan for charging station functionality in all the libraries. We have charging stations, and some of the larger libraries have 2 or 3 units. So we'll have some mechanism for charging devices that will just be a standard 110 outlet, you know, down a power pole or something like that, so.
One area where it would make sense to place a standalone charging station like that would be adjacent to the storage area off of the community room. Across from where the teens' computers are, there is a blank wall currently. And because the wall system that we'd be proposing is a great candidate for running power and data through it, a station could easily be added at that location.
Yes, I had a couple more questions. Overall, I think this really looks like a nice design. And your mention of using the all-steel components to add light, which I always think is really important. Along those lines, in terms of having the flexibility to add windows and all this kind of stuff, and we could take this with us when we move to another place, does that ever really happen?
To be honest, you would need to inform wherever structure you're moving it to. It would have to be considered as part of that design early on. A lot of our clients, I would say, actually don't move them. They might reconfigure them in the space, but we rarely see them actually move from one building to another.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And it is expensive.
They are more expensive than a standard wall, correct. One of the benefits for the budgeting of this project is it puts the cost with the furniture versus the construction. So it moves it from the construction budget, your capital expense, into your furniture budget.
Yeah. And then just a couple other quick questions. One is wondering about the parking. How many places for staff? Do we have separate places for staff? And then what the community? I haven't been to this place, so I don't have a good visual of it.
There is not any dedicated place or intended any dedicated staff parking currently. The parking for this site is shared with an adjacent building, and so those two facilities would share the parking. For the city parking requirements, there's sufficient parking. That doesn't necessarily mean if at a peak use time of the library, is there going to be more than enough parking? I can't guarantee that. But I would say under normal uses, there should be a good amount of parking.
Who's this being shared with? What kind of business?
There is a restaurant, and I believe a small little convenience store.
Wow. Is there street parking?
And I'm hearing there's a great ice cream shop as well.
Is there street parking there?
At this location, no. So
it's just this kind of busy parking lot and lots of in and out. And
right now, the back parking, from what we've observed, is not used. Just the parking off Sebastopol Road in the front of where the restaurant and the ice cream shop is tends to be used for those businesses. And then the parking around the side of that building and then behind this building are vacant most of the time currently.
Okay, thank you.
I really like this plan.
That's great.
I'm glad for the flexibility that you're building into the fixtures so that if we get a large program, it's possible to actually do that. I want to share the concerns of a couple of my colleagues about the after-hours drop-off. We have to remember this facility will not have the normal 54 hours a week that most of our facilities do, which means it's really important to have an off after-hours drop. So not to have one, I think, might be a false economy. Also, this is a project with a lot of community interest. As you know, it's an underserved area. I wonder if you could generate, without a lot of cost, a written version of your presentation, so we could actually have it and even pass it around possibly.
We can look into that. One of the concerns at the moment is the timing of the projects moving very fast.
Yes.
Trying to get ready to go in for permit review early February.
Yes, right.
When would the timing, would you like to have something like that to pass around?
Oh, tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
No, I mean, just to write up of your notes, a simple explanation, especially of how the various areas work together, the after-hours access, stuff that people would want to see. But if it's going to be hold stuff up, then never mind, okay?
We'll look at that.
Yeah, I just had one other thing. In terms of kind of getting to the theme and the feeling, that I loved all the colors and the bright, the warm feeling, the joyous, and lifelong learning, of course, and inviting space. The only thing I had a question about it was that one on the bottom right-hand corner. I didn't get how that fit in with.
So one of the things that we did in selecting the imagery is looking to the community itself for inspiration. That image and then the flower kind of central location are murals within the community in Santa Rosa.
Wow.
And so we thought the color and kind of the inspiration that the mural posed was a great fit for the library.
Yeah, I love the colors, but I didn't get that kind of monstery thing on the right.
I think the intent of the mural, from our understanding, is more of the inspiring for the young woman to stand up to the monster. And treating this as a safe space for someone to be able to feel empowered to do that.
Great, thank you.
Just to add to that too, that mural was recently added. It's on the wall just adjacent to the current library. There was a great article in the Press Democrat about the meaning of the mural and the artist behind the mural.
So it's not part of our scope, but we would highly suggest bringing artwork, especially engaging the community into the library once it's open. And we would look for finding opportunities outside and inside the library to do that.
Any other questions? Tom?
Getting back to the book drop, is it possible to price out some kind of solution for an exterior?
Yes, we can. We'll definitely look at that. And
You don't have to have it tomorrow.
what I would propose that we do, this project will be bid out to find the contractor, and we can list it as either a deductive or an add alternate, so that way we can see what the price would be with it and without it to make the decision if it's going to be included in the budget or not.
Could you have a movable one?
If it was a standalone outside and then someone came and opened it and emptied it, that is possible. Okay. I think that's what they have now at the current location.
Yeah, I was just going to add, we do have an external book drop at the current location, so we'll have to look at placement of that on the sidewalks around the library. Can you go back to the drawing where the book drop is on the inside? So part of the reason that we do have that internal drop is to just streamline what's happening in the building when patrons walk in the door. We want to keep the focus on service at that central service desk so that books can be processed in the back rather than at the service desk. So staff who are working at that service desk are readily available to help patrons rather than processing books.
Okay. Karen?
I just want to add my voice to the book drop contingent. I think with given the community and the hours of service, we really should find a way to provide after-hours book drop.
And it might be, if we include after hours, that we still maintain this internal book drop, because it will definitely benefit from the sorting and distraction of that service at the service desk.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay. Yes, I hadn't gotten to you yet. Okay, and public comments?
Hello, my name is Dwayne Witt. I'm from Rose, and I used to have library there now. the library system, and I'm really glad that we have a library system and that you're paying attention to Roseland. I couldn't really see this graphic very well, so I'm kind of making my comments without being fully informed, but I do believe you can use the outside independent book drop that we've been using for 4 years in Roseland, and that's okay. I haven't seen anybody have a problem with it. I also believe that you can save money by planning ahead to move whatever fixtures you can from this to the new library that will be built, because you know that's going to happen. So be logical in your process as you do this. And then the idea of the teen section. I go to the downtown Santa Rosa Library probably 3 to 4 days a week, along with the Roseland Library. There's rarely a teen in that section. I think you should just have it be a part of the youth section and use that word instead and have it be combined with where the children and the people up to age 18 might be. Also, I think you should use what are called collapsible walls so that you don't make a large community room that's rarely used. Instead, you have your full library there, and then you say if a community situation arises where you might need someone to be able to have a separate space, you move one of those foldable, collapsible walls like they do in school districts or churches when they want their space to be larger or smaller. It would save money, and that would be something that you should be looking into, is saving money, obviously. And then regarding parking, I think you should all go out there and see this site because it's right next to the Exchange Bank in Roseland, which has a massive unused parking lot because banking has been switching to ATM and approaches of not having customers come. They've got at least 45 extra spaces out there that are hardly ever used. And you could just do a joint use agreement with them and their parking lot for your staff members. I think that's going to be the only real need. I see people down there at the Roseland Library and they drive in, drop their books, and then leave. Not many of them drive in and stay long. The people who are there the longest are the homeless. The homeless are the ones who are using our libraries as their place to live during the hours of operation. They arrive the moment it is open, and they leave when it closes. So basically, you're not going to need a lot of parking spaces, I don't think. That's just me looking at it because I ride my bike there also. So on the opposite side of that movable book deposit, you could have a bike rack. Thank you.
All righty. Any other public comments? Okay. Well, thank you, Nick, very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Really like the plan.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, now is the time for public appearances for items not necessarily on the agenda.
Hello.
Hi, Dwayne.
My name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm from Roseland. I wanted to thank you for the opportunity again regarding the Roseland Library and how you folks at the Sonoma County Library Commission have probably been the best thing that's happened to Roseland in the last 20 years. No one wants to say that, but my neighborhood hasn't gotten any better until you folks came in and at least took an interest and worked on it and went forward and got us a library branch. And that library branch has become probably the best thing in the community for the youth. I see kids down there all the time really liking it, and they really appreciate it. They don't get the time to come to a meeting like this and say anything. So excuse me for being an adult speaking in favor of what the youth are getting. But it's a real positive situation, and I hope that you'll continue to work with the community and find ways to prepare for that new library. As you get this one going, keep looking at it as if you have to involve the community, especially the youth now. A kid that's 8 or 9 will be a teenager by the time the permanent one gets built at the Roseland Village. And you should really be taking their insights to help guide you as how that long-term permanent library is built there. Using the example of the Rincon Valley Library branch. Since that came in, that's become a fixture in that community. When I was a youth and they put the Cottingtown branch in, that was a fixture that's been there all of the years of my life. I mean, it's an amazing thing what a library can do to a community, but it does even more if you involve the community in an even bigger way. And I haven't seen that happening that much yet. There's no announcements ever really placed down there on the walls of the Roseland Library about when you can go to a meeting and talk about stuff. There's not really the outreach that could be expanded upon for better community engagement to have us have, if you'll excuse the expression, the best library branch in the entire county. I would like the Roseland Library branch to be the best. I mean, just something that's totally beyond belief in terms of having its own studio there too, and having its own bilingual audio studio, and having all of the opportunities that the future could bring to us, especially with the technology changes that are occurring. So I just ask you to be visionaries, even above and beyond what you're doing now, and look 7 years down the road at what we're going to be planning for that site where the Mid-Peninsula housing people keep saying they're going to do something. So that's been going on for a decade. I think sometime within the next decade they may do something. You folks will probably do it beforehand, I hope. So once again, I'm here to thank you and say, please keep your strong efforts alive to make Roseland a better place, because it's only because of you that it's becoming a better place. The city and the county can't work together if they could ever even open a door together. I think I'd be surprised. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All righty, moving along. Are there any labs or friends, or is there a foundation member here that wants to give a presentation? Okay, I guess Pat's leaving, not presenting. Okay, and moving along, library reports. Anne, we'll start with you, the director.
Okay, thank you. So my report is in the packet. For a holiday month, it was a pretty busy month, but one of the best parts about it was the opportunity to spend time learning from our staff members. I got to visit the various departments within collection services and learn how they do the things they do to make all of our collections available in our libraries, and it was a wonderful experience. I also got to attend a staff meeting at the Windsor branch. So these are the kinds of things I plan to continue doing with each of our branches and departments, to really get to know staff and the jobs that they do, so that I'm in a better position to support them going forward. Other things in the management report I'd like to draw your attention to. On page 14, you'll see that we've given a very brief Welcoming Spaces summary of the different projects that we have going or planned in the near future. So this is just to orient you. We've got many things that are going to be happening either simultaneously or in quick succession. So it's going to be a very busy year coming up. Then on page 21, you'll see that our Fund Development Manager, Siri Tongjer, has given you a chart that outlines the major gifts and grants that we have received in the past quarter. I think this is very good information for you to have, and we'll continue to give you this kind of update on a quarterly basis. We had that wonderful presentation about the Roseland branch project, and then if you look forward to page 22, you'll see that Lana Adlawan, Division Manager, has given a really good, succinct update on the overall project, the relocation, some FAQs that you can have handy for when you have questions with the public. And other than that, please take time to go through the rest of the management report. Staff have been very busy. There's a lot of wonderful stuff here that I really want you to know about. So thank you.
Okay. Jody, the finance report, please.
Although I have watched a meeting, I'm unsure of how you would like me to present this. Do you want me to just read from what I've prepared? Is that the easiest way? I can go with brevity. That's good. So this covers November of 2019. The general fund cash balance as of November 30th decreased to $2,309,507 from October 31st. Fiscal year to date, we show an excess of expenditures over revenues in the amount of $9,139,835 through November 30th. This is because we had not yet received our payment from the county. One of you in the Finance Committee had asked to let you know when that came in, and it came in on December 16th, which was the date of our Finance Committee meeting, and it was in the amount of $10.9 million. So you'll see that on next month's report. Okay. On the next page, we have the general and sales tax fund kind of comparison. You can see, again, the totals. If you're looking at the amount remaining, we've got 10.4% remaining. That will change once the county monies have been entered in. Also, with the expenditures, that will change. And then on the next page, which is the statement of activities for the month, we'll go through the general fund first. As of an employee who is new to the library system, one of my goals is getting my arms wrapped around how the money here is allocated. So if you have specific questions about a particular line item, I might not know off the top of my head, but we'll get there. The good news is that for our services and supplies, which are our biggest expenditures, we have 60% remaining for the rest of the fiscal year, and we're halfway through. Little less than halfway through. Total expenditures, including capital and salaries, put us at 57, so we're right on track. With the sales tax fund, we're looking good with the expenditures, with 78% remaining from our sales tax funds with projects that are ongoing, some that you'll hear about later in the agenda. Does anyone have any questions?
Barbara? Thank you. I think we talked about this a little bit at the Finance Committee meeting, but on page 37, the sales tax fund, in my mind, we're thinking $1 million a month, and November was rather shockingly short.
Correct.
I was wondering if you saw, if you found a reason for that, and if they sprang back in December.
Don't know yet on the December. It's probably in there. I just haven't sought it out yet. I think we were surmising that it may have been due to the fires, and I think that's as good a guess as any, but I've not gotten an answer back from the county.
As far as I know, we've never gotten any kind of like partial payment from the state. I mean, we've always gotten a full amount. I don't think we've ever had like kind of a, here's some and then here's some more, like a property tax. So anyway, I just kind of concerning that it was.
That it was less. Yeah, that's definitely something we're going to keep an eye on.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. You're off the hook, Jody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm glad you're on board. Okay. Commissioner and liaison reports. Start with the chair. For me, it was a rather quiet month. We do have a couple of changes coming. As you might have noted, Stephen Zollman has gotten a job down in the city, and so he's going to be leaving the commission. And one of his duties was as Roseland liaison, and I am appointing David Cahill as the lead with Karen Schneider, his alternate or his support. They're both the Santa Rosa people, and actually the people that should have been doing it in the first place, but they weren't on board yet when the initial appointment was made. So anyway, so I hope you guys are happy. Have any questions? Feel free to ask somebody.
No, I'm happy. It'll be an active period for Karen and me over the next few months because there's going to be some community events around the new temporary branch. So, yes, sorry, I keep forgetting that I have to essentially eat the microphone. Right. Okay, so we're set, I think.
I'm really looking forward to this. I've really coveted this position, actually. So, and I'm very excited about Roseland. It's something that's very near and dear to me, and I'm excited about the building projects. And looking forward to our meeting on the 17th. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good. Yeah, so with the holidays and everything that was happening, I didn't do much else. Went to a couple of meetings, and that was it. So we're going to move on to commissioner reports. We'll start with Randall down on the end.
Nothing to add to my written report.
All righty, Tom?
No report.
The only addition is Sarah and I are meeting this Friday to discuss the archives. We're getting that. And thanks to Sarah for all the investment that she's put into contacting people and getting it moving forward.
My report's in the packet. However, I neglected to say that I had attended the Guerneville public meeting with Nolan Tam, the architects, on December 21st.
My report's in the packet.
My report's on page 40 and 41. I did want to point out a few things. I'm sure when we all go other places, we all go to their libraries and these other cities and towns and get great ideas. And Jake and I were in Tempe, Arizona for a week, and we visited their beautiful, incredible civic space that had all their civic buildings together, including the library. And it gives you, ideas for what it would be like to really have our library system be, along those lines. I also wanted to point out the picture on page 40. I should have blown this up a little bit more, but I've been talking about going to the Chamber of Commerce Noontimes events for the last several years, making good connections as an advocate for the library. And we finally got a book bag in there, one of Ray's bling bags, and we put some stuff in it and put it up on the table, and it stood out. It was so big, and had full of stuff. And we put library books in there, books from the World Reading Club in there that were paid for by the Friends. Anyway, it really made an impact, and the person who won it just thought, oh, this is so cool, and I love the library and stuff. So anyway, I'm going to keep doing that. I'm working with our branch manager to make sure we have that to donate. I also wanted to say that we had an absolutely spectacular event at Roanoke Park. thanks to all involved who booked Dr. Ibram X. Kendi, who is a National Book Award winner, and all the people who worked on this, and it was just unbelievable. The library closed. Vicki had all her staff, they moved all the tables out and all the chairs and all the computers and everything, and then rented chairs and brought them in, and we had an excellent sound system and a little platform and the 2 chairs, and it was a conversation. It was just so professionally done. It was just seamless, and it was so fantastic. The Sonoma County Black Forum was there, the bookseller was there. It was just such a quality event. It was just perfection. Over 300 people came, and it was raining, and a lot of people from all over the place had never been to the, Roanoke Park Library. It was just, well, I'm sure all of our buttons were popping over just the amazing. It was just a fantastic event, and I think something very much like this will be in Petaluma the end of this month with Tommy Orange, who's another very big name, and I can't remember the date of that. 31st.
The 31st.
31st of January. So anyway, it was really a big deal. And I also went to author event at Downtown Central, and a symphony event, and the holidays folk song event at Central. And so I've been spending a lot of time going to just sample and learn, which I do so much from all of these programs. I just enjoy them so much, and I'm so grateful for all that's going on. And I put a little thing on here about appreciation. Every time I go to one of these things, there's always a beautiful poster in the hallway with all the detail. They're all creative, they're all different. And I just want to give a special shout out to the graphics department for always being on the ball and having these really beautiful posters, very professional. Everything's always accurate and professional. And then lastly, back just for a moment to the Dr. Kendi event, we were able to get the sign up on the great big freeway sign, and had a little problem getting, the city wouldn't let us do it, so I called the Veal sign, and Mr. Jackson very kindly put us up on the Veal sign time, and it was great because just the graphics department, it just had it perfect. It was just, it has to be a certain format and stuff, and it was just perfect, and it was just up there over the freeway, and it just looked fantastic. So anyway, sorry to go on about that, but I'm just really impressed with all of our programming and the great things that are going on throughout the library system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. Andy, do you have any report to make?
No report this month, thank you.
Okay. Get well, by the way.
Well, thanks. I'm coming along, and I appreciate your dating me.
Yeah, I'm well aware of how it can be. My report, it's pretty much a quiet month. I did have lunch with Siri, got to know her a little better, and we talked about the Monterey Library where we both had worked. But I was thinking on the way home, I doubt seriously if she was even alive when I worked there, because it was 50 years ago. So anyway, moving along. No lab appointments. We're to the consent calendar with that. Is there any?
Excuse me, we're going to have liaison committee reports.
Sorry. I wanted to speed things through, but okay. Back over here. Director's evaluation report. We are going to have a meeting tonight in closed session to continue Ann's evaluation with the commissioner's part in it. Other than that, that's where we are. Finance. Randall.
Okay, I have a report in the packet, but what I wanted to announce was...
Could you please speak closer to the mic?
Okay, this is the kickoff for the budget process for FY 2021. So I want to ask all of the commissioners to pick their top 3, 4, 5 items that they would like the library to do in the next fiscal year. And if you would write those up and send them to Jane, we will consolidate them and discuss them at the next Finance Committee meeting. So if possible, I'd like to have them by Friday the 24th, and we will collate them and talk about them on the committee meeting, which is the 27th. So dream big, but dream realistically. So I would like to suggest that perhaps you would like to look at the list of items that were in the Measure Y campaign and see what could we be doing on that list that we're not doing, or things that we could do better. And I'd appreciate input from everybody, because not only is this a suggestion box, but it's also going to be a polling, like a voting. So if everybody wants something, we'll put that at the top of the list. So the Finance Committee will consolidate the list, present the top items at the commission meeting is a week later. So we'll get all that put together. So this is the start. This is your one chance a year where you can say, I want the library to do X. And I'm sorry, Vicki, but we're not going to be doing autonomous flying drones delivering books. Not next year. But other than that, think about it. So look for age groups that we're not getting to, geographical areas we're not getting to, services, all that. So this is it. Dream big.
Thank you, Randall. Advocacy, Deborah.
The Advocacy Committee report is in the packet. I will also be attending the California Library Association Advocacy and Legislative Committee meeting this Friday, and then have some advocacy things later in the month at the American Library Association conference as well. So we will be, the Advocacy Committee here, however, wants to encourage the rest of the commission, when you're out and you're talking about the library and you're talking to your communities, do let us know in the Advocacy Committee what's happening, and we'd also like to support your efforts as much as possible, just because we have lots to brag about. And if we brag about them to the electeds that we know, that's a good thing. So we're going to be probably putting together a plan for formalizing that and getting a little more organized. But do think about the folks that you know in the community who should know the good things that the library is doing. Thanks.
Okay. Foundation liaison, Tom.
The reports in the packet, it occurred to me I should add something. We're talking about the foundation and how it's going to have to change. But I want to start all of us thinking about how we're going to have to change. Because if we do a fund drive to raise millions of dollars, we have to stop looking at little things and really get out there in the community, as Ray is encouraging us to start making contacts, because that's what is going to be a main job we're going to have to take on. I just want people to start thinking about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. It's an important point. Okay, Measure Y, oversight. Randall?
I want to thank Barbara McKenzie for attending in my place. I got to go to the doctor. My report's in the packet, so it's...
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Barbara. Okay, Roseland liaison.
As the freshly minted liaison to the Roseland Library Coalition, I don't have much of a report except to say that I personally like the plan. The Roseland Library Coalition is a private group with which we work closely. So we'll be doing a lot of working.
Thank you, David. Ad hoc. Karen.
I assume you mean standard operating procedures, reports in the packet.
All righty. Bylaws. Tom.
No report this month.
Okay, Thank you. Commissioner orientation and training, we are having a retreat this Saturday. Is it 9 or 10 to 3? 10 to 3?
10 to 3.
10 to 3. I hope we see everybody there. The more we do stuff like this, the more we begin working more and more as one unit instead of a bunch of different fingers. Okay, and the all-day lab, I have not gotten a hold of Sarah, and I will do so this next week. Holidays kind of got in the way of everything. So, moving on, no lab appointments, as I said earlier when I got out of line. And we're at the consent calendar. Is there anything on the consent calendar that is of note, or does somebody want to make a motion that we move forward? Tom?
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, so it was motioned by Tom and seconded by Barbara? Barbara. Okay, and because we have people out of the room phoning in, we're going to have to do this by roll call. So do you want to go down the line, Jane? Is that the best way? Just start with Randall? Okay, Randall, do you yay or nay?
Yay.
Tom, yay or nay? Karen?
Yes.
Okay, I got it. Well, I don't know if Jane got it. Karen?
Yes.
All righty. Deborah?
Yes.
David?
Yay.
Barbara?
Yes.
And Andy?
Yes.
All righty, so it was unanimous.
And Reese?
Oh, yes. Sorry. Okay, so the consent calendar has been moved and approved. Action items by motion. Approve the increase of hours for Forestville and Occidental. Lana?
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Lana Adlawan, Public Services Division Manager. So this item is on page 90 through 95 in your packet. And we are requesting that the Commission consider the expansion of public service hours for the Forestville and Occidental libraries to begin in February 2020. Staff have been steadily working towards this progress with the establishment of the Commission goals for this fiscal year, but had a number of steps to put in place before this change could be brought forward to the Commission. Many of these changes are referenced in the background section on page 90 in your packet. They include a budget adjustment to add more staff to the region, including the recruiting and hiring of this additional staff person, and then the negotiation of a new lease with the West Sonoma County Union High School District, which was completed in September 2019. The library completed the following actions in support of this expansion of hours. And this is documented in your materials as well. A survey was issued to the public regarding the expansion of hours. A survey was issued to Occidental Library patrons regarding programming needs. There was a community meeting held in March 2019 regarding the expansion of hours as part of the Guerneville Library Advisory Board meeting. We, as mentioned, renegotiated the lease with the local school district. We hired additional staff, which was supported by the approval of this year's budget. We consulted the data available by our newly installed patron counters. We also surveyed the activity happening for residents in the Occidental area in terms of local school district hours, as well as other activities available for residents in the area to make sure the proposed schedule would meet community need. We consulted staff who have been long-term employees of those two locations for several years if the proposed public service hours would also meet community need. And then we received approval from both the property owner of the Occidental Library and the school district in support of this expansion, and both parties are very excited about this potential increase of hours. Part of the change with these two locations is that we'd have better alignment with the public service hours to provide more consistency in the schedule, as we're proposing to have them both at 24 hours per week. And we're working within the challenges of the lease for the restricted hours by the school district. As mentioned, the expansion of hours is requested now as we have the staff in place to expand the hours with minimal additional costs to the library. And we have the support from this community for the expansion. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I know there's a lot of coordination involved in this, and so it's great to see it come to fruition. I think expanding hours is something we obviously all of us want. I had 3 quick questions. One on page 92 about the Occidental Library's schedule. It kind of goes back from morning, and then the next day it's afternoon, and then morning, and then afternoon, and morning and afternoon. And I just wondering, I always find those kinds of things kind of jarring and confusing. You know, it's like less, you know, you don't really know when the library's open when it goes back and forth like that. It's consistent schedule at Oxford or in Forestville. So I just wondered if you could enlighten us a little bit more about the reason for kind of back and forth.
It's to make sure we have a balance of evening hours and morning hours. We decided to put the afternoon hours on Tuesday or Thursday because it also aligned with the school district schedule.
Okay. Well, anyway, if you think it's going to work, I would think consistency is always a little better, but that's just personal. And then I was wondering how many responses to the survey that you had. We just had one result here, but I'm sure that was just a sample.
For that community, they tend to shy a little bit away from the technology. It was an online survey, which is also why we held the in-person community meeting. So I had a few responses given to staff, and I had a handwritten note from a patron about the expansion of hours, and we had a couple community members come to the in-person meeting. So I will say patron request from the survey was low, but we did see some turnout at our public meeting.
Okay. And kind of probably tied to that is my reading of these, the patron visit numbers are pretty low. I mean, there are not a lot of people that use these two. Do we have thoughts about expanding, or it's how many ever this is enough to keep these rural stations going? And and my last question, you can answer all at once, is in terms of drop-off, since we had this conversation about Roseland and dropping books off. Can the people drop books off here, or is it only when it's open?
No, we have an external book drop for Forestville, and I believe we have a internal book drop for Occidental. It's on an external structure, so they can drop off books at any time.
So that's good.
Mm-hmm. In terms of the use of the rural stations, I mean, that's a larger question for the commission to really look at. What we know from this staff that work there and from patron feedback is that the service is very much valued in those 2 locations, which are very remote. When one of the staff members is gone for the day, it's like a crisis has happened. Like, where's Nancy? Where is Bonnie? They're highly invested in the service from the staff members at that location. So those stations do act a little differently than our other full-service locations, but there's more of an intimacy and relationship with the library and the services rather than just a transaction. So the commission would have to, you know, it's a question of value in a different way for those stations.
Yeah. Is it the same people, or are we getting new people? Or do we have any way of knowing?
We could run a report on new library users. I will say, you know, the patron counters show low but steady attendance for the hours that were open. Those stations are run by 1 staff person. You know, for that period of the day. So keep in mind that staff expense is pretty low for those stations. But you can see from the patron counters that every hour that we're open, especially when we just open to the public, that's when we have the highest rate of attendance. So I'm hopeful that with the expansion of hours, we'll see even, especially for Occidental, meeting those morning hours, that we will increase usage for that location. And we do have, you know, there are several senior citizens in that community, and that library is a lifeline for them.
Yeah. Thank you.
Tom?
I move that the Sonoma County Library Commission approve the expansion of public service hours at the Forestville and Occidental libraries to begin February 2020.
Second.
Okay, so Tom moved, Deborah seconded, and we will again do a vocal roll call because Andy isn't here. And I owe everybody an apology because I totally forgot that Paul had called me and said he had an event tonight and he would be late. So as he's walking down the stairs, I realize he's late, and that's what happened.
I had a pass.
Yes, I gave you the pass. Okay, so the roll call. Randall.
Yay.
Paul?
Yay.
Tom?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Dave?
Yay.
Barbara? Yes. Andy?
Yes.
Stephen's not here?
Was that a yes?
Yes, that was a yes.
Okay, thank you, and I'm a yes. So it was unanimous. Okay. Now, the next item is approving a blanket purchase order for $250,000 for furniture for Roseland, enabling Ann to make that purchase, which is beyond her typical range. So do I hear a motion?
I move that the Sonoma County Library Commission authorize Ann Hammond, Library Director, to authorize purchases exceeding $50,000, but not exceeding $250,000 for the new Roseland project.
Second.
All righty, so David Cahill made the motion. Deborah seconded. Do we have any comments or thoughts?
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
So it's not in total of 250. It's invoices that would be up to 250. So there could be multiple ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least that's what I assumed.
Right. I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that.
Okay. Barbara, you have a question?
And since you're clarifying, Dave, we're still talking about $1.5 million or more than that?
The budget still remains the same.
At
1.5
million? Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? All righty. Okay, we'll go the vocal again. Randall?
Yay.
Paul?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
David?
Yay.
Barbara?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
And me is a yes, too. I am yes, excuse me. All righty, so that was a unanimous. Okay, and don't think there's anything for discussion, so we're down to our closed session. And, yeah. So we'll head upstairs, do our thing, and be back. And I'm supposed to sign this. Reporting out from the meeting, there's nothing to report on, so that was simple. I also want to remind you, while I'm thinking about it, and don't forget, we have one more meeting in this facility, and then beginning March, we will be meeting in headquarters. So just put that in the back of your mind. Okay. I reported out. Okay. Items, agenda items for future agendas. Any requests?
We should be discussing the priority items for the next fiscal year budget that will be collected by the Finance Committee and moved forward.
Isn't that what we're doing on that all-day working budget day? Or do we need to do that before? I don't know.
We need to finalize the list.
Okay.
So we can turn it to staff.
Our priorities.
Okay.
For them to put cost figures on our wishes.
Okay.
And then that will come into the budget meeting. Okay?
Okay.
All right?
Yep. Thank you. Anything else?
I actually have a question for Ann. Are there many staff members who are going to ALA?
We're we're still working up the list, but we don't have a huge number going to ALA.
I was just thinking if they're giving presentations or something like that, it's always nice for us to hear what they're talking about out there. It's
Okay. Anything else? Barbara, you were raising your hand.
Yes, this is actually kind of a question about agenda setting. We kind of in the past talked about having a process or a protocol for items getting on the agenda. I can't remember where we left it, but at the last commission meeting, I asked for an item to be agendized, and it didn't get agendized. And that's okay, but we need maybe a protocol for it. And with regard to our protocol chair, I don't know if you were in on this discussion, but a city council, if you want to agendize something, you have to get another person to agree, and if it's 2 council members, then it goes on the agenda. And so I'm just thinking that we should have a protocol, because it's not clear to me whether we're making general suggestions about agenda items or, we're able to actually request that it goes on the agenda.
Okay, we did make an agreement that that was the way it would go. Yours from last time was solely my fault. I got sick and I just blotted everything out. I really did. And so I apologize for not getting it on. Yes, we did set up having 2 people, and in my kind of blasé way of doing things, I have not been formally asking for a second person to support, and I suppose I should. I just figured if nobody was jumping up and down and screaming, then it was okay. So I will, from this point on, ask for a second person to support an item on an agenda.
So we don't have a written protocol about this, though, do we?
There is something written. I ran across it when I was looking yesterday through stuff. I will pull it out and give it to Karen so she can see it and we can see where it stands.
Yeah, I just have one comment on that. It's in the bylaws. It says that the agenda is a joint product of the director and the chair of the commission. So you two have got the authority.
We're the ones that finalize it, yeah.
Well, that may be true, but I just want to know whether it's a casual, well, why don't we talk about Roseland, or whether if somebody asks for
I have been
Roseland.
casual because that's the way I function.
Yeah.
I was not formal. I will be more formal from this point on.
Okay.
And we'll find, there's a spot in the SOP somewhere where this can go and get formalized.
Okay.
So, can I just jump in here a second? I know that our new software called iCompass actually will allow us to build a template, and then and it would be an agenda, template, that you would fill in the blanks and essentially put forth your agenda item on this form.
Oh, okay.
And then, if it needs 2 people to push it forward, this would happen ahead, when you get your packet, this would happen ahead of the actual meeting that is going to take place. Does that make sense? So
well, I can figure it out later. But yeah, I get it. There's going to be a way to do it. Okay, yes, and well, you all know I'm casual. I'm not really. So, anyway, I apologize.
So my request was, for the last time, would that be on the next agenda then? I wanted to have a formal discussion about policy, and when we are included and when we're not.
Let me dig my stuff out. I'll give it to Karen, and the SOP committee will address it.
That's the big picture, but my item for the agenda. Now I'm back to, you're asking for items for the next agenda.
So what's your item?
The item is when does the commission get involved in policy setting? And I had mentioned 3 policies. I can't remember any of them except East Street Studios.
Okay, I'll look them up. It's on my thing.
Okay. Because we may not need to ever see anything, or maybe we need to put a stamp of approval on more things.
I think we need to determine what a policy is.
Yeah.
Okay. Deborah?
My question, well, first, I would think that some of this may be talked about in our retreat. So it may be, what we do, when we do it, and what are our responsibilities. But my question is, if tonight at 9, what time is it? Tonight at 11 o'clock, I think I should have asked for this to be on the commission agenda, the next commission agenda. I will just call you. I assume that we don't, this is not it's not a dead, you don't have to recommend it today.
Well, I can always be the second person.
Yes, but, all right.
I mean, that's kind of
This is not the deadline for
Yeah.
recommendations for the
No.
next commission
No.
meeting. That's all I was trying to establish. Okay, thanks.
Okay, anything else? All?
Would it be of interest to the general public to report out at our workshop on Saturday some of the things we discussed or did?
Yeah.
Being it's a public meeting, yeah. That may be of some interest.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll put you in charge of that.
Related
yes,
to
David.
that, will the workshop be streamed or available like one of our meetings is?
That I don't
not.
think so.
Okay.
No.
Because it's at headquarters.
Yes, it is at headquarters. But
There isn't a plan to live stream that.
Or to even record it? I don't think so.
no, I don't think so.
It's a workshop, so
It's
it's
a
not.
workshop.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
have to do that.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Barbara?
Yeah, we're done with the agenda items. I just wanted to remind everybody, just this today I found out about this mayors and council members social event, and I sent it to Jane, and Jane nicely sent it out to everybody. But since we've been going to mayors and council members, and mayors and council members have been getting to know us and stuff. Anyway, this event is on Thursday night, and it's more of a social thing. But everybody got an email about it. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, then next meeting's February 3rd, 6 p.m. Here again, it'll be our last time here. And meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for coming.